Obviously, I am joined by retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Kevin Ryan. You are a visiting professor at the Kiev School of Economics,
Correct.
and you are in Kiev currently. Um, General, I obviously reached out to you about the potential for bombing civilian or economic infrastructure in Iran. And for the moment, I want to put President Trump's rhetoric in a box off to the side. And let's just talk about what we have actually bombed so far. For example, Karg Island this morning. What kind of infrastructure is that, and what is the value in going after that?
There would be military value in bombing a place like Kark Island, where you have uh, energy stored, you have energy transferred. The occupation of that land would facilitate further military operations on the mainland, or also just deny that land to the Iranian forces. Uh, all of this would be presumably part of an operation to open up the Hormuz Straits to shipping.
Got it. So let's talk about the threat of potentially bombing either Iran's bridges, power plants, or even its oil. What argument does the U.S. need to make in order to make that have a military objective to go after those and not an objective that would hurt the civilian population?
Well, in an armed conflict, there are many targets that are both have a civilian purpose and a military purpose. And as far as I know, there is no uh, single document that says bombing infrastructure is a war crime. That kind of a statement doesn't exist. Instead, what happens is, according to the Geneva Convention, is that we classify targets. First, we say if it's a civilian object, then it's protected. We cannot bomb it. If it's indispensable to civilians, and that's a higher level of something that's civilian, then that would be protected. And if it causes excessive harm, for example, if we bomb a nuclear power site, that's different than bombing an electric power site. Um, and in each case, it really is a matter of intent. You can make an argument for any single power plant or bridge that it's dual use, that the military is using it or could use it, and therefore make it into a legitimate target. Uh, it, um, but in this case, when you have statements that are issued by the government, the U.S. government, that say that put a deadline and say we are going to bomb all the bridges and all the energy sources across the country as a result of failure to agree to a ceasefire, it would be hard not it would be hard to defend that kind of an attack from the accusation that it's a war crime, because those kinds of words directly imply that uh, there's no thought given to which are civilian or purely civilian and which are not.
Mhm.
So this is the part that gets most people concerned about the talk about war crimes.
So even if the military action is significantly narrower than what's being stated on Truth Social, for example, it doesn't help your argument after the fact.
I'm not sure I understood that
Like it
question.
doesn't if you're trying to President Trump is not helping the case for saying there's a
Um,
military objective by making such broad statements, even if the military action is much more narrow.
right. I think in this case, it would help the United States' position uh, to be very specific about the kinds of targets it's seeking. And what it intends to do when targets are both dual civilian and military. Even I know that generally you have planning teams that look at these targets and they try to identify targets that are purely civilian so that they do not bomb them. That is a normal practice in the American military. I think just recognizing that, stating it, would be helpful to putting to bed discussions about war crimes. Not saying that, or in fact saying the opposite of that, that we would strike all energy plants and all bridges, that leaves us open to accusations of war crimes.
Mhm. Is inflicting economic pain an acceptable military action? So say you are destroying oil.
Right. Well, I don't think a military planner would put it in those terms that we're inflicting economic pain, although political leaders would think in those terms and would make those kinds of comments. And that certainly can be a goal of a military operation. But for the military planners, they would be looking at a more measurable way of saying what we're doing. In other words, we're going to destroy energy plants which directly feed into all ground forces bases in Iran. And that, of course, is economic pain or uh, military pain, sure.
Mhm. I'm not sure if this is something you would feel comfortable commenting on, so you can stop me. But obviously, obviously, President Trump makes a lot of threats that he doesn't follow through on. And my question is, he clearly thinks that this is some sort of tactic to bring the Iranians to the negotiating table. And do you think that that works with whatever's left of the Iranian regime? Do you think that they actually do fear his threats made on social media, or is it having the opposite effect?
Yeah, I don't really know what the effect is on the Iranians of President Trump's um, taking to social media, in other words, to express his thinking as the commander in chief or the president in a very open and direct way, not just with the American people, but the Iranians. It's a new kind of development in the last few years. In some cases, it can be helpful, and others it cannot. Um, what I what I do think is that history has shown us that ever since aircraft got up in the air and could drop bombs, they've been doing that. And the United States has conducted many bombing air campaigns in the past and other wars. And the results or the benefit of that has always been heavily debated. We're not sure that we actually accomplished the things that we set out to do. Sometimes it galvanizes the population against us instead of breaking them down. And we don't know how this is going to play out in Iran. I don't think that it is um, truly a big enough air campaign to bring about the changes that the United States is asking for in Iran.
Mhm. And what do you think I know the stated objectives have sort of shifted. What are the changes you think the United States actually wants?
In Iran, the United States has, in particular, the president and the Secretary of Defense and other representatives have made several different uh, claims or tried to explain American goals in Iran. All of them could be possible. All of them could be valid things, regime change, taking away their ability to monitor and control the straits, their ability to launch ballistic missiles, et cetera. These don't have to be one or the other. They can be all of them. But the more that you pile into that basket, the more thought you need to and resources you need to dedicate to doing something uh, to get those goals. And I don't think we have the kind of military uh, units deployed there right now to accomplish all the things that are being asked for. We would need a much larger military presence there than we have.
And in the time frame that's been stated, this 4 to 6 week time frame.
Well, yeah, yes, yeah, undoubtedly. Yeah.
So my last question, because I can't help myself, because I know you are an expert, you're in Kyiv and you're an expert in what's going on in the Russia-Ukraine war. What are what lessons, or are we taking any lessons from Ukraine's ability to combat Russia and employing them in this conflict in Iran, or should we be taking more lessons from them?
Well, I think we should be copying as much of what Ukraine is doing as possible at the tactical and operational level. Ukraine has become, in Europe, in my opinion, the best military there is, ground forces military there is. And we are actually spending a lot of time learning those lessons at the operational and tactical level. At the strategic level, at the political level, I don't think we're taking away the right lessons. I don't think either in the current administration or the previous one. I think we're missing a lot of the lessons. We're missing a lot of the value that they can bring us. But certainly for the military, the uniformed military, they are actively taking a lot of lessons away from what's going on in Ukraine.
Mhm. And what is that? What would you say would be one of the top lessons?
Well, the most visible is are drones and the impact of drones on the battlefield. They have completely revolutionized what's going on the battlefield. And today, like Ukrainian units, American units, ground units, are beginning to uh, get their hands on dozens, hundreds of drones. They're forming small groups within their units of men and women who know how to operate drones. They're good at it. They know how to build the drones. They want to be able to build drones in the battlefield right there in the company or the battalion so that they always have drones ready when they need them. So that's an example of something that's brand new to somebody like me who's been retired from the military for a while.